Thank you, Mr. Hunsaker. My only follow-up question is, how are you feeling overall about the race and the primaries in less than a month? How has it been, and what are your thoughts?
Well, I have to say that as a first-time candidate, it's been a learning curve every single day since August when I stood on the steps of the Capitol and launched my campaign. Every single day, it's been challenging. But I also have to say that every single day I have learned over and over and over again about the goodness of voters here in the district. I think there is an overwhelming sentiment among CD4 voters right now that we need someone in Congress who will actually work on our behalf, who is not going to make this, a second celebrity retirement, is not going to spend most of their time outside of the state of Utah, and is not going to contribute to the toxic conversations that we all know are fracturing our country right now. And I've met my message of principles and solutions and optimism has been met with overwhelming support across the district. And now, a month out from the primary, or just less than a month out, I'm feeling very, very energized and optimistic about our chances, because what is clear to me is that not only do we have insurmountable or seemingly insurmountable crises facing our country right now, but there's an overwhelming appetite for actual leadership. And that is my number one priority, showing Utahns that I'll show up for them, that I take this job seriously, that this is not just a game of celebrity for me, and that I will spend more time talking to them over the kitchen table than I will tweeting outlandish things that land me my next late night show booking.
Okay. During the debate, you accused your opponent of absenteeism, not being as in touch with voters. How would you be different as an elected official in Congress?
Oh, the absenteeism is very real. In the last 2 years, coming up on a year and a half, I guess, since he took the oath of office, my opponent has only had 4 town halls, 4 scheduled opportunities to be held accountable by real people to answer real questions. Certainly, he's been in the district and visible much more than that for ribbon cutting ceremonies and for all of the, showmanship of politics. But that's not an opportunity to be held accountable or to be impactful or substantive. And so the absenteeism in terms of just town halls is astounding to me and astounding to voters across the district. This is coming from someone, by the way, who doesn't even live inside of our district, and you would think would want to show voters that I'm one of you, that I'm a neighbor, that I care about your issues. That has not happened. And that plays out in the funding. 80% of his funding outside of the state of Utah, and that's a statistic I've already mentioned. But my gosh, I think in his last filing, he listed 74 out-of-state special interest PAC donations and 2 PAC donations from inside of the state of Utah. This is not, me coloring outside of the lines or trying to create, a reason to run when there isn't. This is a legitimate gap in our representation right now. And not only is he absent, he's spending his time out of state, contributing to the toxicity that is making it harder for me as a conservative to win on issues like responsible pro-Second Amendment gun solutions, like real immigration policy reform that is going to make it more difficult to come here illegally and easier to stay here legally. Those are things that he continues to distract from because he doesn't have any solutions, and so all he can do is the talking point that lands him a late night show.
Okay. And then finally, what was your experience personally like today in a debate kind of by yourself?
Great question. I'm going to actually, my brain, works a little bit slowly sometimes, so I've got one other thought on the absenteeism. I mentioned that my first move as a candidate was to go around the district and to talk with city council members and mayors and elected officials here on the ground. And what I found in those conversations was startling, that they just want someone who picks up the phone, right? And we've talked about that. I asked one of the mayors, what does a functional federal partnership look like for you? Because I understand that not everything is a federal issue. There are things, we don't expect our congressional representatives to figure out how the trash gets picked up every Thursday in our communities. That's not what I'm talking about. This mayor said, you know what it doesn't look like, this functional federal partnership? It doesn't look like a single round of Topgolf. And that's what I've had so far to deal with. And I'm committed, and I've told elected officials across the district, which is why I've earned their endorsement, that once I'm in office, I will have at least quarterly, if not monthly, town halls, that I will have at least quarterly, if not monthly, meetings and phone calls with mayors, with city councils, with county council members, so that we can solve these complex issues. Thank you for letting me say that. And now, in terms of your conversation or your question about the debate, listen, none of us ever know how we're going to perform in very stressful situations. And to me, that's okay, because this is not about performance. This is about substance. It's about actual leadership. It's about real conservative solutions for our community. And so regardless of how this plays on the news, I am confident that today we had a very thought-provoking, impactful conversation about real issues and real solutions. And whether Twitter agrees or whether Facebook agrees or whatever in the, the ether of social media, I don't know yet. What I do know is that I was honest. I've always been honest about my views about what's going to drive this country forward. And that's all that any voter can hope for, is someone who wears their heart on their sleeve, comes to the table with a real eagerness to solve problems, and is willing to take the heat for standing for something. And by the way, let me say this, when we found out that my opponent was not going to show up, not only for this debate, but for any of the other 3 to 4 scheduled debates that we have between now and the primary, what I thought first and foremost is, oh, that's unfortunate, because I will be taking the heat for actually standing for something, while my opponent is sheltered from the heat and the political reality of having to take a stand on anything. But that doesn't matter to me, because I want leadership as a voter in Riverton, and voters across District 4 want leadership who don't care about the ramifications of standing for something and will not simply hide because hiding and standing for nothing offers safety. And it is a time for choosing in this district between people who will show up and people who won't. And I believe I'm the candidate that will show up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.